session. And we have in our studio audience today some students from Gregory Lincoln Education Center. All right, so thank you all very much for being with us. The learning coach Al Jackson and Neil Bush are still with us, and we look at a new and better ways to teach children who struggle in school. Larry Joe Daugherty, you also know him from Texas Justice, well, he's here to tell us about the Think School, and Dr. Reagan Flowers has more on tools for teachers to teach better. So please welcome them to the show today. It's a lofty goal to say we want to produce the smartest kids in the world.
And if anybody can do it, Coach Jackson can. And reaching out to the public for public and community involvement is going to be critical to making the Think School get off the ground and work. Just before we got started today, Coach Jackson was telling me, he said, it looks like the wheels have come off of public education. Deborah, I graduated from Sam Houston High School. We're missing the wagon. We've got to reinvent this in a way that works and retained learning, memory. Coach Jackson is at the top of the list of people who can do it.
And when you're talking about doing that, you're not talking about doing it with kids who are like, you know, their parents are both nuclear physicists. You're talking about normal kids.
No, Deborah, if you have a system of learning, if it doesn't work for everybody, then it's not democratic. Excuse me, Bill. You know, it's not, you know, it has to be something that works for everybody. So,
anyway, yes.
So the strategies that we have brought back is something that works for everyone, number one, and number two, and it's something that each parent can do.
Yeah.
Because like you mentioned earlier, there are so many kids in that classroom. A parent has a hard enough time with one child. I mean, a teacher has a hard enough time with 30 children. You know, so a parent is in a better position with that one child if the parent knew what to do. Like how I got to Neil's parents years ago when he was younger, and if they knew the times table technique, if they knew that spelling technique, there would be no problems.
Right. And I remember my mom always telling me, and it was interesting because she was in the one-room schoolhouse, you know, with grades 1 through 12 all in one room with one teacher. And she said it's that important triangle, and that's that teacher, that's that parent, and that's that student. All right, so when it comes to teachers, a lot of teachers, Dr. Flowers, are so frustrated because they feel like they're not really teaching, they're teaching a test. We know that tax test. So what you all have is kind of a curriculum, and explain how that's different to help people, or help teachers teach what they need to teach to get through that tax test, but do it in a way that kids learn and retain.
Well, we do focused training in areas of communication, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, which are all areas that we're in crisis with, fulfilling that workforce pipeline in those areas. And we give the teachers resources, tools to make the learning more engaging, more hands-on, more project-based, more applicable to real life. Kids are engaged through robotics, using GPS units to map, instead of using a textbook or a map on the wall. They're actually doing green social action projects in the community, building websites, taking those cell phones and using them in the classroom to teach.
Integrating real life.
Yes, real life. The things that we tell the students to leave at the door, bringing them in the classroom. Even if teachers aren't comfortable with it, learning how to be the facilitator of the process, not having to be the master, but learning from these children because these kids are really plugged in.
Yeah, all right. And Neil, kind of goes back to one of the things that you showed me a couple of years ago in that CAL system, and how it works to help a child retain no matter how they learn, whether it's audio, visual. Explain that.
Well, as I mentioned, all kids learn. They just learn in different ways. And there has to be different approaches for teachers to engage the mind of the child so that they retain that information. And I love what Reagan's doing with hands-on, practical application. I've seen classrooms in inner city schools in New Jersey where the whole grade has applied a project approach. They've learned, then they learn language arts, they learn science, they learn history, they learn civics, they learn all this under the context of a project. They didn't know they were learning, but these kids came out so much further advanced in their knowledge, in their skills, than other kids because they were engaged. Learning isn't painful. Learning is supposed to be joyful, and it's easy. It's something we do whether we know it or not.
Right. And everywhere you look, there's a lesson. All right. You all have a 4-year-old here today.
4-year-old.
Named Nadia.
Okay.
And adorable. Hi, Nadia.
She is so beautiful.
Oh, watch out, Deborah.
So you're going to show us something here in terms of proving what you're teaching.
Excuse me for a second. See, parents, you need to start. You know, we're talking about redoing education. And if you don't start the math and those thinking qualities early in a person's life, as the doctor will tell you, that logical thinking you get from math will carry you a long way. Math and science across the world, we're trailing. So if we're going to do something dramatic in this Think School, dramatic, we have to lead the world. We have to do something they're not doing in Japan. We have to do something they're not doing in China. We have to do something they're not doing in India. Do something they're not doing in Singapore, which leads the world in education. And let's start with math. How do you teach a 4-year-old? A 4-year-old in preschool.
I would like to know, because I have
You
one.
have a 4-year-old.
Yes, so.
Well, as we mentioned earlier, you saw in the show, you must make it fun. And if it isn't fun, they're not going to do it. You saw us start with a times table. So let's just do another one. Let's say 8 times 8. So instead of the number 8, the first thing you do, parents, is make sure they can count 100 things. They know what these numbers are for things. And then the second thing you know, you teach them, if we have the time, I would have them count these 64 things. And then, well, there's a faster way to do that. Right, Nadia? Nadia, are you with us? Are you with us? 8 times 8.
64.
And as soon as they learn it right away, what does it mean? You have 8 what?
8 books. I mean, 8 tables.
8 tables. And the other 8 is telling you on each table there are?
7 books.
Well, no, we have another number 8. We have how many books on the other table?
Well, the good thing, Al, she got that answer. So,
okay.
Nadia, thank you very much. But again, that's the point, is teaching them and not thinking that it's too early to teach them.
At the same time.
When we come back, Victoria Osteen has a new line of children's books that uses all the senses. She joins us to share the importance of reading to children early. And we'll see how art can support a child's education as well.